We believe that being a developer isn't only about working with code or building software. It's about brilliant people working with technology development, user experience, realizing business potential, and beyond. Although our working days look different, each of us has a special role in creating technology that reinvents the world for good. As technology creates increasing impact on people's everyday lives, we look at the world differently. Being developers of digital futures, we change how businesses and people interact, collaborate, how they communicate with each other, how cities run and businesses grow. We have a responsibility to create technology that brings value to all futures, from organizations to industries and societies across the world. Taking these different perspectives into account and proactively creating good. This is what makes us different. Based on our Nordic heritage, diverse competences, and global reach, we create purposeful technology that brings value to all futures, while redefining our own. We are Tietoevry, and we are developers of digital futures.
That is Tietoevry. And I am Satu Goldbech, marketing lead of Tietoevry Create here in Sweden. Welcome to this session where we will learn more about how to combat bullying with AI. And next to me, I have one of our 24,000 brilliant developers and serving 10,000 of our customers in 90 different countries around the world. Camilla, how do you feel? You have a big responsibility in actually creating a purposeful environment.
Yeah, thank you. No pressure. So I'm Camilla Heiding, and I'm a software developer here at Tietoevry.
Yeah, and you will tell us all about the solution we built together with friends in a little while. Yeah, and we were also supposed to be accompanied by Ylva from Friends today, but unfortunately she caught a flu. So I will do my best to profile Friends and what led us to the cooperation we have together. So, should we move over to what we actually came for? Yeah, why not? And to be honest, I just want to mention that we shouldn't even have this talk today. What Friends does shouldn't even be a kind of session, I think. We have over 140,000 children that are subject to bullying every year in Sweden. And 10% of all the kids between 3 to 6 years and 5% of the children between 6 and 9 report that they actually are bullied. So there is a purpose with Friends, unfortunately. So Friends has been working with creating this world where no child is exposed to bullying since 1997. And they're doing this on 4 pillars. Research. They work a lot with training and supporting both sports clubs, schools, teachers, and also building the awareness around the society. And we also see when we are building a digital society, the figures of children exposed to bullying is just increasing as we look. So, what do we know and what does Friends know? Yeah, mapping is central, and they have been doing this for over a decade manually. And children know the best, so we need to ask them the questions. And schools, they need efficient tools, because the manual work takes too much time and is often in heads of some people. And researchers have all the answers. So why moving towards an AI tool? Like I said, we are depending on some experts that knowledge and facts are in the heads of some people and on the desks, and the feedback is too slow, and the low quality of data feed, and too low insight-driven analysis. So working towards having a digital tool has been growing for a few years, and to be digitalized means that you can work more smarter and scalable. And this is kind of what we do the best, right, Camilla?
Yeah, I will talk a bit more about.
Yeah.
We
Do you
have
want
done.
to take over and tell
Yeah.
everyone about the solutions we work with?
Yeah. So as Satu mentioned, Friends have been collecting all this data for over a decade, creating a large database with collecting data from a large group of students and staff, and creating this unique database for analysis in school safety and well-being. So we at Tietoevry came in contact with Friends around 2020, and at the time we had a group of resources available with rather junior developers who were participating in our graduate program. So we thought, like, how can we use these resources with the support of our more experienced staff? So we wanted to combine a solution beneficial both for Friends but also giving our graduates internal training and experience in development. So we started brainstorming together with Friends and had workshops. And when we finally had an idea in place, we could also apply for financing through Vinnova, since this is a research project. So the purpose and the goal of the project was to develop a tool able to detect and further on also prevent bullying in and around schools. This tool should be able to inform and guide schools in their work against bullying and increased well-being in and around the school world. The techniques that we ended up using were a combination of technologies such as Neo4j, Server.js, and AI, all this combined in a AWS-based cloud environment. All the collected data is also completely anonymized, which I will come back to further on.
And we often use the word digital twin in these circumstances. What is a digital twin?
Right. So this might not be the traditional definition of a digital tool with temperature and moisture, etc. Our interpretation of the expression is more like we collect all this public data about the school, like the size, etc. And this combined with all the survey answers from the student and the staff creates a representation of each school, and that is what we call a digital twin of each school and their school climate.
Okay.
Right, so this is what we ended up with after all these workshops, so with all the components and technologies in place. Friends are using this tool to create survey questionnaires and send out to schools and students. And together with Örebro University, they have developed specially designed questionnaires for students, school leaders, health teams, and other staff covering topics such as vulnerability and school climate. It is a lot about asking the right questions in order to get valuable information from the students.
Do you have an example of such a question that is the right question?
Yeah, so if you ask a student if he is being bullied, he's rather likely to just say no, and if you do say yes, he probably already have told someone about it. But if you ask these very concrete questions, like how often do you get pushed around in the corridor, how often do you get mean comments about your clothing, etc., and then you also give them concrete examples of like a few times a week or several times per day, then they are more likely to answer truthfully, and someone at Friends can determine whether they are exposed or not, even if they don't tell it directly.
Okay.
Right, so all this data is gathered in a graph database called Neo4j, and it's a powerful tool that enables data analysis and similarity generation. So, for example, schools with similar problems at different times can be selected to analyze measures and their impact. So if a school had a certain issue a few years ago, you should be able to determine whether it has improved or not. And if it has improved, you should look into what measures they have taken and why they have been impactful. And then you can suggest that to other schools that are similar to this school. And another part of the idea was an AI alarm system. So some of the questions get free text answer where the student can type anything they want. And these answers are very time consuming for someone at Friends to go through, and it can, from the time that the student entered the answer until someone reads it, can be take time. So instead we thought, can't we use AI to do this, to go through these answers and analyze them and detect the most severe ones? And also categorize the answers into like what kind of an exposure is this? Is it sexual, physical, or etc. And the severity of the answers.
And how about the surveys? If do you need to expose your name, or can you be anonymous when you answer these surveys?
So the data is completely anonymized. Sorry, I just gonna. Sorry. So the data is completely anonymized. However, in order for us to keep the data and do research on it in the long term, however, each teacher get an encryption key so that if a really severe answer is detected, then they can find out who entered this information and take immediate action.
So you can feel secure leaving anonymous answers.
Yeah,
So,
but no one apart from that teacher have access to this encryption key. So no one at Friends or us developers get access to any personal data. Yeah. So that was a summary of a bit, what we came to the conclusion of. Now I will go a bit more into detail about each of these parts. So I would like to start talking about the survey engine. This is the main part that is currently in use today, actually. Here Friends can create surveys, but also handle publication and distribution of these questionnaires to the schools, and also the collection of data, visualization, and processing of data, etc. We have built this tool using Survey.js, which is a library for handling surveys, and we host the solution on S3 in AWS. We have also built a system to handle large distribution of to students' email addresses with one-time links. And the one-time links make sure that no one answer multiple answers, messing up the statistics, etc. The tool is used both by Friends, but also by school staff and principals, etc., who can see the statistics in real time. And data of which type of issue their school might be exposed to. Right, and as I said, the data is completely anonymized, but the teacher have these encryption keys in case something severe is detected, so that they can take immediate action. Except for one scenario, which is if a student answer with a name combined with personal information. So like if someone types that Kalle in 5B said this and that, then of course we know that Kalle goes in 5B. That could potentially be like something to improve. You could exchange all the names in the database. But apart from that, it's completely anonymized. So we should not just gather all this data for no reason. We should of course put the data to use. The first approach of the project was to build and train an AI model from scratch. We did it with something called an NLP, which stands for Natural Language Processor. And this works similar to how like ChatGPT or Google Bard work today. So it understands language. We use something called neural networks in the model. The focus was placed on finding the sentiment of an answer. This means that the model should be able to discover the feeling of a text. This was used for binary classification, so whether the student was being bullied or not. The first models actually rather quickly went to a very high hit rate of about 80 to 95%. But even if that sounds rather high, which it is, it could only classify into 2 categories, bullied or not bullied. No room for nuances, so like how severely bullied someone is, if they are like suicidal or if they only got snow thrown on them like one time. And the reason for the lack of nuances was the limited data. Initially we only had like 600 answers to train the model on, and out of these 600, about 50 of these were kids being bullied.
How about all the data Friends collected for over a decade?
Right, that is correct. Friends have a huge data set. However, it is not classified in a way adjusted for training a machine learning algorithm. And classifying the data is very time consuming. So someone have to go through the answer and determine are they being bullied or not. And if you go in further, how severely bullied are they, then it's even more time consuming. And you need an expert to classify the data because they know the science and how to classify it. So Friends helped us classify about 600 answers so we could train a model. But then we had to take another approach because it was so time consuming. Something we did in the meantime, just to understand how an AI works, was something called web scraping and bag of words. So we collected a much larger data set by taking comments and ratings of games on the internet. And then we give each word a point. So every word occurring in a 5-star rating get +1 point, and every word occurring in a 1-star rating get -1 point. This means that words occurring in both get a very neutral score, like the word "and", for example. But negative words, like ugly, boring, awful, more commonly appear in a 1-star rating, and then they get a very negative score. And then you can apply the same technique on survey answers. So the words occurring in survey answers where the student is being bullied get a negative score.
Have we ever considered using ChatGPT or something similar?
Yeah, my next slide is actually about that. So during this research, we experienced something that could only be described as an AI revolution. In 2022, OpenAI released ChatGPT 3, and in 2023 they released ChatGPT 4. And competing companies like Meta released the open source tool Llama, which you can download for free and play around with. So, and we had actually started researching AI in 2021. So in the midst of our research, all these groundbreaking tools started appearing. So of course that was something we had to look into. If we could integrate these models into our project, the lack of data issue could be solved, because these models they already understand language and are rather intelligent. The new challenge that we had to consider were more like fine-tuning these models to work in our favor. This is done with something called prompt engineering or fine-tuning, where you add your own data set. I mean, these models are trained on a really large data set, and then you add a smaller data set, fine-tuning the model to be specialized in what you want to use it for. You could think of it like a new employee at Friends, taking a crash course in what to look for in these survey answers and what they mean and how severe it is. Like an example is that some of these models compared a snowball fight to stoning someone back in the days, because you were throwing things at them. So, but in the real world, that's not that severe. So by categorizing the answers and finding the most severe cases, we could enable friends to act much quicker and put their focus where it needed to be. In the picture here, we have some very brutal examples, but it defines what we are aiming for. So we have some Swedish examples of someone being sexually assaulted in the shower, or even as severe as like being raped by their teacher, and someone who says they want to die. I mean, this is horrible to even think about. But these are the kind of answers that we want to detect with an AI alarm. I mean, we can't let these answers lie around for weeks before someone notices them. This should like sound an alarm to the right resources.
This is so awful, and this is why I said in the beginning we shouldn't even have to have this meeting, right? But
yeah,
so good that you can point it out quicker.
Yeah, and then we have some other answers like the yellow ones here, someone being pushed around by older kids, or there being homophobic comments in the corridor but not directed towards the student who answered. I mean, this should of course not be ignored, but they should not be prioritized above rape and suicide. So they should be in a different category and be worked on in a bigger perspective. And then we have the answers not marked at all, like no, I don't know. These are mainly questions not relevant to this student, because they just had to fill out a survey and yeah, nothing was alarming about it. These are the ones we want to filter out completely. We don't want to waste friends' resources, valuable time going through all these answers. We just want to filter them out. So I mean, it gets real when you see these real examples. I mean, even us as developers, I mean, it's easy to talk about techniques and statistics, etc. But like, these are real kids being exposed to real things. It's hard to think about. But if we get back into the techniques and the statistics, so after filtering out and finding those most severe cases, we want to find a method to generate actions and suggestions that the school should take according to what issues they are facing. So how can we know which action is effective in a particular school and a particular issue? One approach could be that we gather a lot of public information about the school, so like the safety indexes, the size of the school, number of employees, availability of school counselors, among other things. When we use this data along with machine learning to identify schools that are similar, not only in structure but also in the challenges that they are facing. I mean, this is the definition I told about the digital twin. When we have these digital twins of the school, we can find matches of schools that are similar. Ideally, we could find school A that has an issue this year and another school B that have had this issue a few years ago. And then we can take a look at which measures were taken in school A and at school B, and whether these measures showed improvement. And if they were successful, we can suggest school A to do the same thing. And of course, the more historic data and the more schools we have in the system, the more likely we are to find these matches and give reliable suggestions. So here is an overall picture of basically everything I've been describing here today. So we have the school staff that invites students to the questionnaires. We have the survey responses along with this public information about the schools. And all this is stored in a graph database. representing each school. We also have the AI alarm, detecting the very severe examples. And we also have this encryption key, so that the teacher can find out who was entering this severe answer. But we also have the anonymization when we store the data long term, so that we can keep doing research on the stored data. And finally, we have the generated reports with statistic, compilation, thematization, that also Friends experts with their long expertise manually refine in the end, so that school know what they should work on in general, according to the issues that they are facing.
This is so interesting. Let's take a short breath. Camilla, how has it been really to work in such a project?
Yeah, so I mean, the project itself has taught us a lot about like AI, building scalable systems, handling sensitive data and privacy issues. And we have also been able to like experiment with a lot of like cutting edge techniques. I mean, not only our graduates, but all our staff have learned a lot along the way working in this project. And of course, it has been a real like eye-opener thinking about these social issues. I mean, both for us as a company and organization, but also as for us developers as individuals and human beings. I mean, it's very interesting to think about and hard to think about. We have also met like a lot of new people along the way, and they have interesting ideas. Me personally were at Slush in Finland like 2 years ago when we presented like the vision and idea when we were in the early phase. And I mean, we met hundreds of people coming up at, oh, do you work on this? I work on this. Have you thought about this? And they get new ideas, and like everyone want to contribute, and they think it's an important topic. And of course, this tool enable Friends to act faster and on a larger scale with better precision, and they get all the data collected in one place.
Exactly. And Friends has been up and running for a while now. And of course, feedback comes also from the schools. And some of the feedback that has come in is, like you said, the eye-opener, having someone externally actually pointing out details and because it's easy to get blind when you're in something the whole time, so the external eyes have been valuable. And also in the internal work where school management has been facing issues to really get these things, working on these issues with teachers and so on. So the external voice has been very, very important. And also the analysis part, where it's much faster. You can act quick on the topics that are really important. So it's obviously been very valuable both for Friends and also for us as a tech company, and understanding and actually being able to create this purposeful technology. So Camilla, what's up? What's cooking? What do we see in the near future?
Yeah, so I mean, some of the components I've been talking about is still like a work in progress. We have delivered the first iteration of the solution, so we have the service system in place, and schools have started participating in these questionnaires and they entering answers. So we are collecting the data, but we have to get like the whole alarm chain in place, so we can so that the right resources are notified when a severe answer, if it should be like the teacher itself or the principal or someone at Friends, etc. And like with all AI and machine learning, we have to keep tuning the models and get more nuanced and reliable data. And I mean, the most prominent way to do this is to get even more schools using the tool and gathering all this data. So, and also make sure that the school keep using the system over the years, so we get this historic data and can see what actions are effective and not. I mean, Friends have been doing this for years, but we have to do it in this system so that an analysis tool can detect something that a human might miss.
Exactly. And that last thing, getting more schools up and running, that is, I know lots of them are getting up right now as we speak, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I think that was about it. Do we have any questions? Yes.
We should have had Ylva here to answer those questions. I'm not exactly sure about the numbers.
No, we can get back to that. We will try to communicate that in a way.
So it's not in the phase that it's compulsory for the school?
No,
not yet. No.
Questions. How do you categorize the data based on the age of the children, or how do you?
No, more like if it's sexual, physical, or like what categories of exposure, and also the severity, like if it's suicide or if it's like something we have to look into.
But I'm quite sure that will be a filtering also in the future to have like the different ages.
And also, Friends and Örebro create surveys, and they send different surveys depending on the age group also. So a 6-year-old doesn't answer the same question as a 15-year-old. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, you?
Okay, thank you. I was just curious, because you said that, or did I understand it correctly, that it's the teachers that are sort of, they create or they get to use the encryption key for finding out the identity of the students?
Yeah, so Friends create the question and the surveys, and then they send that to the school, but it is the teacher that sent it to their class, so they enter all the email addresses. And when they do that, an encryption key is automatically generated, and they get this and have to store this personal.
I see. I asked because in one of the examples you had one of the students saying that I'm being raped by my teacher.
Yeah.
So how does that work then?
Yeah, exactly.
Compromising for that student.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So also, like I said, the AI alarm chain is a work in progress, and one of the most important thing was like who should be alarmed. Is it the teacher himself or the principal as well? But as it works currently, the encryption key is only available to the teacher. But you could, of course, find out which class this is occurring. So if the principal know which class, then they can still look, even if they don't know the exact person, they could look into this.
Yes, down there.
Just a comment, like what about like social workers within school, like kurator, for example, or they who actually work with these kind of questions with the students in the schools? Could they possibly have a encryption key?
Yeah, that is one approach as well. So.
But are they involved now in the project?
They are involved in the matter that some surveys are formulated for like the school staff, but I don't think they currently are involved in the students' answers. That is also something that Friends is focused working and recommending.
I
Yes?
think, sorry.
How does this work with mandatory reporting, like orosanmälningar? As in, do you have any way, or does Friends have any way to follow up whether a report was actually made based on the data? Once you've given the teacher information that here's a kid that is being severely bullied, do you have any follow-up to that? How do we know whether the school is actually doing something? Like, speaking from experience, teachers don't always do that.
Yeah. Well, no, currently not in this particular tool. I mean, it's more of an analyzing and suggesting, but it's a very interesting point. So
Yeah, we have a few things to take with us and talk with friends about, actually.
yeah,
Because this should be like their normal process, but doing it from manually earlier.
yeah.
So there should be. Yes.
My question is, maybe I missed this information, but how are the surveys being done? So is this something that is being sent out via the platform? So are, for example, the parents aware of it, or is it something, a survey that the pupil is done doing in school without announcement? Or how are
Well, it is something that the pupils are doing in the school, so they get an email with a link to the system. I actually don't know if we have. I know what you're talking about, like that. Some are when the parents are informed. I'm not actually. Well, that's not something I work with, so I can't answer that.
Yes, lovely. Lots of questions.
trying to think of a question that's not Friends related, since we don't have Ylva here. I'm curious about the AI model. When you have built the model, can it help identify if you have any blind spots in the data? Like, how many survey respondents do you have on average? Or like, is every kid responding? Is it like, if the surveys are happening again and again, the same kid isn't responding quarter after quarter? Like, can your model identify spots in the data that's incoming?
Well, the reports generated for the school contain all this information about how many answered, but since it's completely anonymized, you cannot know that this particular kid never answers. But you can, like, you get a percentage of how many is answering.
Because what I'm trying to get to is, like, we tend to be very biased toward the data we have,
Yeah,
rather than trying to act on the data that we don't have. Like, it's difficult to know what's an unknown, but it is out there. So
Yeah.
how do we rely on not staring ourselves too blind on the data that's coming in, but trying to think about, okay, what haven't we asked? What isn't being answered here?
yeah,
It would be interesting to get machine learning help on what is representative of reality
yeah,
out there.
yeah. It's interesting.
A hand down there, I think. Yes.
I'm thinking a lot of children with like ADHD or other psychological differences are more exposed to bullying. And I'm thinking like with dyslexia maybe have different difficulties to read, and so how is this tool developed for them? Is it easy for them to answer these surveys? Have you been considering that?
Yeah, something that Friends suggested, or something that Friends did, was using image alternatives instead of text alternatives. This was actually unexpected from us developer, because the size of the data grew exponentially when it was pictures. So that was something we had to deal with quite recently, actually, entering all these images.
I think we have some. There was a hand down there. Yes.
Yeah, interesting project and all, but I was wondering if you have, since you've been doing so much work in like AI and the graph database, have you considered expanding into some other field?
I mean, we at Tietoevry work in AI in a lot of fields.
Oh.
So
With this kind of model with surveys, if it's not schools and bullying, maybe like work environment.
Yes, we do quite a lot of different projects in different. For example, we have one big Swedish organization that works with health and in work environments, for example. So we have a lot of different kinds of surveys and arbetsplatsronder, you know, the Swedish word. So yeah, and if you have any good ideas, please give us. Yes.
Regarding the previous question, I worked with some other application before to find some informative ideas from Twitter regarding like hand hygiene techniques, especially during the COVID. So this is very, I think, related to your work. One solution for when you having my comment is on more on the AI and the machine learning techniques that you can use. When you have a little labeled data and you have a lot of comments or everything that are not labeled and you still want to use like neural network. One solution might be using active learning. So it might put you like search on it and then especially when you have a little amount of labeled data. So it basically chooses very informative let's say text or comments of students and then train based on them and then we'll give you some the new train model finds very similar let's say comments from the unlabeled pool of text and give it to you to somehow bring it up from a pool of unlabeled text. So it shows to you, then you can label like 100 instead of like a million. And then you can retrain your model again and again and again.
Mm.
Yeah. Do you have any comment on that? It's kind of what you do when you train the models.
Yeah, I mean, we have worked a lot with classified data. Is also like the unclassified AI tools. I think we had some like examensarbete. What is that
Yes,
called? Like to thesis work, examine other approach. But like something we really realized, noticed in this project was like you have to find something and do it. Because I mean, there are thousands of ideas. Like you just heard like 20 here today. So one important thing is to like start doing something and see if it works, and then you can examine other approaches along the way. But one important thing is to just get started.
Exactly. I think we have room for one last question, and I give it to you down there.
You mentioned that you use EDS as the server, which is Amazon-based, but you also mentioned that your personal data is in free mixed answers. I'm curious how you are planning to do that. Are you asking the parents to like consent to having their data sent to the US in case of like federal, they can request data from like all American companies?
Yeah, this had been a large discussion, and we of course want to make sure that we comply with all these rules and guidelines. Me personally are not specialized in those areas, but yeah, it is something we work a lot on. So like where we store the data, and this is why I focused a lot on like we do anonymize all the data and make sure. So we comply with all the rules.
It's very important to be GDPR compliant.
Yeah.
I think we need to draw the line here, but we will be, and you are the main star here, you know all the things that happens behind the scenes. You will meet Camilla in our booth up in the exhibition area for a good while after this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.